Many of the stations now will break for their local newscasts, and we'll have continuing coverage of this Operation Desert Storm in a moment.
Coming up next on 21 Action News at 11. The war in the Middle East is now 4 hours old, beginning with massive U.S.-led air assaults. Locally, we'll have a series of reports on reactions by Valley residents to the war, including 2 live reports with people with special concerns over the military action. All this and much more coming up next on 21 Action News.
WFMJ-TV, Youngstown. This is 21 Action News at 11 with Glenn Stevens, weather with Tracy Butler, and Chuck Galletti on sports.
I have a statement by the President of the United States. The liberation of Kuwait has begun.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Stevens, and that was White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater announcing earlier this evening that military targets in Iraq and Kuwait were under attack by U.S.-led United Nations forces in what the White House is now calling Operation Desert Storm. Fitzwater said the attack began at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. About 2 hours later, at 9 p.m., President Bush addressed the nation live from the White House. More on that from 21 News Director Art Jordan.
Some 2 hours after the raid began, President Bush went on national television and told Americans what the networks already had. America is at war in the Persian Gulf.
The 28 countries with forces in the Gulf area have exhausted all reasonable efforts to reach a peaceful resolution, have no choice but to drive Saddam from Kuwait by force. We will not fail.
The president added that no ground forces have been committed yet. Even before he spoke, American news correspondents already knew what was going on. They could tell as planes were taking off from Saudi Arabian airfields.
Yet another plane has taken off. I can see the orange glow of the afterburner as it heads into the night sky to destinations unknown.
Incredibly, the Iraqis did not appear to get any planes in the air over Baghdad to challenge the American and British fighters. Even more astounding, those Scud missiles, thought to be fitted with chemical weapons aimed at Israel, never got launched. There had been reports a few were set up, but those apparently were false. At the White House, the president, in his national speech, sought to respond to the growing anti-war movement, explaining why he did not want to wait for sanctions to take their toll.
The world could wait no longer. Sanctions, though having some effect, showed no signs of accomplishing their objective.
Defense Secretary Dick Cheney and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Colin Powell, were predictably guarded about the success of the mission. Cheney preferred to talk about the targets.
The targets being struck tonight are located throughout Iraq and Kuwait. Our focus is on the destruction of Saddam Hussein's offensive military capabilities.
Cheney and Powell would not comment on casualties. Some figures may be released tomorrow. But what of Saddam Hussein, shown here hours before the bombing? He has disappeared. General Powell claimed in the news conference Hussein was not the concern of the attacking bombers.
We have not been targeting Mr. Saddam Hussein. The purpose of our bombing facilities in the area of Baghdad is essentially to go after the command and control system of the Iraqi armed forces.
And so goes the first night of this, America's latest war. Art Jordan, 21 Action News.
This night has added significance for a local man, one of many Americans trapped in Kuwait when Iraq invaded last August. 21's Bill Marshall joins us live on the north side of Youngstown for some reactions to what's going on. Bill?
Glenn, as you said, we are on the north side of Youngstown, and I tell you, after months of posturing, after months of rhetoric, after months of military buildup in the Gulf, this came as no surprise. But then, just about 4 hours ago, it did catch a lot of us by surprise. And maybe no more so than here on the north side, where we have a family very directly involved with all this. Ahmed, you, I know, were in Kuwait when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and you still have family there, so you've got some very real concerns about what's going on tonight.
Yes, my brother is still in Kuwait. He doesn't live too far away from the airport, which is, I'm sure, it's been hit by now. I'm very sad. I'm not happy about what's going on. Now that the arrogant Kuwaitis will return back to their country, maybe I'll have to pay the price for them to go back and be as arrogant as they were before, We're going to lose maybe a lot of Americans, a lot of Iraqis, but I'm very sad. I'm very not really happy about what's going on.
Linda, you were over there too. I know you were in Kuwait. You managed to get out with your son. You were very anxious about what might happen over there too.
Oh yes, I was very anxious and very relieved to get home, and my heart goes out to all the soldiers and families, their loved ones over there, and the reality of it happening is very hard to take right now.
I know there are so many Americans in this country tonight worrying about their loved ones, the soldiers in the Gulf protecting and maybe liberating Kuwait is what the reason is at this point. Ken has, let's see, it was Linda's brother's sister's nephew, and he's over there serving with the U.S. military. Ken, so basically you have a member of your family serving with the U.S. forces over there. You've got to be very concerned about what you're seeing tonight.
Yes, that's right. He just got out of high school this spring, and then he's over there in the Persian Gulf, and I know his family, his grandparents, they're really watching everything and thinking very seriously just what's going to happen and how soon they'll all get back home. So let's hope that this thing is short-lived and a minimum of lives lost, and they will return soon.
I'm sure Ken speaks for all of us tonight. We do hope this situation is resolved quickly and with minimal loss of life. Ahmed, show us what you've got in your hand. I know you've been probably with this all night. It's kind of a rosary. Doing some praying.
Hoping that nothing will happen to my brother. The reason I'm so worried about him at the moment because he's too close to the airport. He's only about 5 minutes, 6 minutes away from the airport. And I hope nothing happens to him and to his family.
And we certainly hope not. And we'll all be on pins and needles tonight and probably not getting much sleep here on the north side of Youngstown and everywhere around the area tonight. Glenn, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. The fact is, many Valley residents are left tonight with questions like, why attack now? How long can it last? And most importantly, how many must die for a free Kuwait? 21's David Summers has just returned from an interview with a local Army Reserve colonel who answers some of those questions as a military man and father.
Saddam Hussein systematically raped
Army Reserve Colonel Walter Dusney has been hovering around the TV all night, getting the latest word on Operation Desert Storm.
He was in the service and he was telling us about.
Dusney has a son, Jeff, waiting to be deployed, and another son, Walt Jr., now fighting the war. He's worried, but confident.
The training that they've been receiving and the level of training has not only prepared them militarily, but prepared them mentally to do what has to be done.
Dusney isn't surprised the president ordered an attack at night or an air offensive for the first wave.
It's the peak of their sleep hour, if you will. It's the time of their particular, even a waking hours that they're most vulnerable. And, of course, darkness. And when you're on the offensive, you've got the edge.
Getting the edge also meant following up with a fight as soon after the UN January 15th deadline as possible.
The anxiety level in the country almost mandated that something be done. And as with the people here and probably throughout the state and the nation, even though nobody wanted to see it happen, when we all heard the announcement, I think it was almost a sigh of relief.
What is relief for some now will surely be sorrow once the first of the dust is cleared and the casualties are accounted for.
Hussein has said he'll bring this country to our knees, and he has, but we've come to our knees in prayer, and I think that's what's going to pull us through this.
David Summers, 21 Action News.
When the word came out that shots were being fired in the Middle East tonight, area shoppers found themselves glued to television sets in department stores. For many, word of war is a scary feeling.
I think it's kind of scary. It really scared me when I first found out, but I feel that we have a good chance and we're going to go in there and do something really good, I hope.
Little bit scary to myself. I do have a friend over there right now. He has been a real close friend to us, and I just really didn't know what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden we were in actual war.
Well, I would hope that it wouldn't have to come to this, but if it does, you know, let's do what we have to do and get out of there.
I think this is the only way they're going to resolve it, if it's going to get resolved.
Americans are sitting on the edge of their seats tonight, waiting for the next move by the American forces. One local group has been against military action and aren't happy with the events taking place. For that side of the story, 21's Dana Ballish joins us live now with a member of the Youngstown Coalition for Peace in the Middle East. Dana?
Glenn, the Youngstown Peace Coalition for Peace in the Middle East has been demonstrating every day since last Tuesday on Federal Plaza in hopes of having a peaceful solution to this crisis. Joining me now is Mike Alexander, a member of this organization. And Mike, first of all, your organization has to be disappointed this evening of what's taking place.
Well, we're definitely disappointed. Everyone's in a state of shock, I think, as the whole country is. We were hoping that George Bush would continue to try and find a peaceful solution to the problem, and obviously he hasn't. Our main concern right now, though, is, as it always has been, is the safety of American troops. We're trying as hard as we can to find a way to bring American troops home now so that there are no more casualties. In addition to the American casualties, though, there are scores and hundreds of Iraqis who are dying, civilians, women and children. They're bombing a city of 3.5 million people, and we're very concerned about the safety of Iraqi civilians.
Okay, in his address earlier this evening, President Bush says he couldn't wait any longer because of sanctions. Your response to that?
Well, he's the only one in the country that couldn't wait any longer, and possibly in most of the world. In the Washington Post, 10 international union presidents called for using sanctions and not war. The steelworkers, auto workers, all of the major religious organizations in the country have called for continued sanctions and no war. Most of the world leaders have called for continued sanctions and no war. George Bush seems to be alone in his outlook of no war, of no sanctions, and continuing use force.
Okay, can we briefly expect to see more demonstrations?
Definitely. There'll be a demonstration downtown every day from 12 o'clock noon at the Vietnam Veteran War Memorial. January 19th, 7 o'clock on the Market Street Bridge, we'll be holding a candlelight vigil. And January 26th in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of organizations across the country will be having a demonstration. If people are interested in coming, please phone 788-8848 or 759-2738. There are seats available on the bus.
Okay, very good. Mike Alexander for the Youngstown Coalition for Peace in the Middle East. Glenn?
Okay, thank you, Dana. And as this story unfolds, a group of Army reservists is leaving Newcastle, headed for what has suddenly become a war zone. Whether they are sent there is still anybody's guess, as 21's Bill Marshall explains.
Yeah, you should have these on your person, okay?
The 326th Quartermaster Detachment had short notice.
Did you want to check your insurance to make sure?
And little time to think.
Does it scare you?
Well, death always scares you, but it's just something, you know, I've experienced it before in Vietnam, so it's just like something I'm going through.
In your own head, how do you get ready for something like this?
Sir, you never get ready. You never get ready. I don't care what war a man has ever been in. You don't really prepare for the thought of killing or dying.
The unit was called to duty Sunday. Purifying bad water is what they're trained for. But their families could never prepare for what has come to be.
They're upset. They don't want me to go, but I told them that I'll be back.
My wife knew when I signed up 19 years ago that sometime I'll be gone, and she's willing to accept it.
Many of these reservists are volunteers, called fillers. They're still to be trained at Fort Lee, Virginia.
Your mission over there is not a surprise to any of you.
The men and women of the 326th range in age from the 50s to the late teens. What unites them is a sense of duty and the fear of the unknown.
It'll probably be a quick war. I don't know. I hope it is. But yeah, I am scared. A lot of people are. And they're lying to you if they're not telling you they're not scared.
That goes for all of us in the Mahoning and Shenango valleys.
And still to come on 21 Action News at 11, we'll take a look at local anti-war demonstrations and continue our coverage of Operation Desert Storm when we come back.
How does Ryers fit all 20,000 pairs of women's shoes on racks during its famous rack sale? First, they clear the entire store, then fill it up with special racks. Rack after rack is loaded to overflowing with more than 20,000 pairs of current fashion women's shoes, all the famous brand names and hard-to-find sizes. And best of all 20,000 pairs of women's shoes are on sale now for just $29.97. That's right, just $29.97. The rack sale, only at Ryers.
They'll keep the winds around for years. They'll knock out wind and rain. They'll give you joy and light and pride to comfort you again and again.
Anderson windows and patio doors do a beautiful job of standing up to the weather outside. But their real beauty is the way they make you feel inside.
Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
Couples all over town are rushing into Eaton Park for a dinner deal that's too good to be true. Now, Monday through Thursday, from 4 to 9 p.m., you and a friend can dine on chicken naturel, Scrot, Maryland, homemade Salisbury steak, or butterfly shrimp with all the trimmings and even dessert for only $11.95. So don't think twice. Come in on the double for Eaton Park's dinner for two.
Demonstrators around America are protesting for peace despite the fact that war has broken out. Earlier today, a peace rally was held in downtown Youngstown, and there was a battle of sorts there. 21's Lauren Schultz reports.
A face-off at the Vietnam Memorial in Youngstown. This news conference of the Peace Coalition interrupted at these words.
Once the body bag count starts, they'll be flowing out of their homes to support anti-war movements.
Defile honorable men.
Bro.
You defile honorable men.
A man yells, "You defile honorable men."
We're not for war either, but we don't think this is the place to be protesting. This is an honorable spot, and you dishonor it. You demoralize our troops.
He criticizes the use of the monument for a demonstration.
I am a Vietnam veteran, and I think they exploit the Vietnam veterans for their own personal gains, and this is not a place to protest.
Here, this land was leased to us for the purpose of having this memorial here. I don't see anybody protesting and going to the cemeteries, so this is likewise like a sacred place for those efforts, and that's the idea behind it.
If protesting in the cemetery may stop this war before it starts, I will protest in the cemetery.
Those of you that want to see our kids killed again like the generation that we went through, we ask you to join us today.
And some veterans stayed, making sure the protesters circle the memorial property. Lauren Schultz, 21 Action News, Federal Plaza, downtown Youngstown.
A National Guardsman from Niles has died while awaiting his deployment to Saudi Arabia. Specialist Brian Spackman of George Street collapsed and died Monday, just one day after his 22nd birthday. Sources say his death is due to natural causes. Spackman was a member of the 324th Military Police Company of Austintown, which was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Calling hours will be on Friday at Holloway Funeral Home in Niles, and a full military funeral will be held Saturday at First Christian Church. Visitors and neighbors at the U.S. Air Reserve Base in Vienna Township will notice a difference in security measures. The war in the Persian Gulf has caused security to be tightened. Lieutenant John Ketak says there have been no specific threats to the base. It's just routine with the war situation. People will be allowed on and off the base, but they will be subjected to intensive identification checks. It's all intended to deter would-be terrorist threats. All the tension and excitement surrounding the war can be hard on us adults, but don't think children are immune to the anxiety. A local child psychiatrist says kids are aware of the stress that goes along with the war, and he encourages parents to address the child's feelings.
Talking about it and expressing it either in words or in drawings or in play are healthy ways in which children can learn to cope with it.
We can't just shrug our kids off and say, oh, don't worry about it. It's none of your concern. It is their concern. They're living through it, too.
Boehm says parents should take the time to explain war to the kids in child's terms. And as we say, the events in the Middle East continue to unfold tonight, and NBC will continue its live coverage of developments in the Persian Gulf immediately following our local news. Just ahead, Tracy will have a look at our forecast. Stay with us.
music. Hit the music. Yo, from our home studio, it's Mickey D's Deals. With a serious deal on hot, delicious hamburgers and cheeseburgers. Peep this. From now on, a regular hamburger is 59 cents. Cheeseburger, 69 cents. Is McDonald's for real? Straight up, hamburgers are 59 cents, cheeseburgers 69 cents. These Mickey D's prices are incredibly low. Yo, that's why they call it Mickey D's Deal. Word.
Hi, Terry Polton for Stackhouse Olds Portiality, 3121 Market Street in Youngstown. We have people driving in from Buffalo, New York, Akron, Canton area, East Liverpool, all over Pennsylvania and West Virginia, buying 1990 Cutlass Calais for $79.88. This is the price. You don't pay any more other than tax and title. You can drive one away for as low as $187 a month. Come to Stackhouse on Market Street.
Growing up today is very hard.
My parents just don't understand.
Adolescents face huge challenges on every front.
I'll drink if I want to.
Sometimes the pressure becomes too great.
Nobody cares.
Belmont Pines Hospital does care. We provide comprehensive treatment of emotional problems. Belmont Pines Hospital, a new dawn in psychiatric health care.
If only there were two. We wouldn't have to worry about the environment. We'd have a backup. But there is no second chance, which is why Giant Eagle offers an environmentally friendlier line of high-quality Green Mark products, like unbleached coffee filters and phosphate-free detergent. Each, in a small way, can help protect the one world we do have.
And on this busy night, Tracy gives us a quick check of the weather, including a look at conditions in the Persian Gulf area.
Yes, as of right now around Baghdad, skies, they are reporting clear to partly cloudy skies. There have been some reports, however, of some patchy fog over in Iran, and temperatures generally in the 40s and 50s. Now look at our surface map of the Middle East, shows that high pressure influencing most of that area of the world tonight and throughout Thursday. Sunshine should be reported there, with the exception of in northern Iraq. They may see a little bit of rain. You see a cold front that is just moving into that area. So there could be some rain in northern Iraq tomorrow. Tomorrow morning for us, 8 o'clock forecast. Flurries, temperature right around 31 degrees. We made it up to 53 today, 36 the current temperature and the low. We had a little over half of an inch of rain reported at the airport today, and there is still some rain going on out there. Rain and drizzle tonight, changing over to flurries. Overnight low around 30 degrees. Tomorrow we can look for more flurries. Could be a covering on the ground tomorrow when you get up, and a high in the mid-30s by tomorrow night. Cold and some flurries around overnight low back around 23 degrees. Our extended forecast is calling for even more flurries. Maybe a little accumulation come Friday morning. High of 31 Saturday, looking for the chance of some rain and snow. High of 36, and Sunday some flurries around and a high around 32 degrees. So it looks as though our extended forecast, and even tomorrow, we are going to see some much more return to seasonable weather. And when we come back, as though Chuck's going to bring us some sports. So.
Yeah, looks like we're getting back to more typical mid-January stuff. Okay, thanks, Trace. And when we come back, Chuck will take a brief look at tonight's sports scores. Stay with us.
Stambaugh wants you to see one of the safest, most powerful room heaters ever built. The original Polonus disc furnace. The ceramic honeycomb core warms air instantly. An industrial-strength fan circulates it. 5,200 BTUs of heat you control with the thermostat. The one and only Polonus disc furnace. Stambaugh's priced at only $89. Capable of heating the largest room in an average home. Yet so safe it won't even ignite tissue paper. See it now at the Stambaugh's Home Improvement Center nearest you.
Every year, people make resolutions, like saving more money. But even with the best intentions, there's always the temptation to spend it. That's when you need the Resolution Solution. Marine Bank's new Resolution account. Build a steady savings plan for whatever you want, and it doesn't let you cheat. The new Resolution account for people who just can't save enough. Marine Bank, a PNC bank.
Humiliation on the second half quarterback.
Now that was a stellar performance.
Super buckets.
Have some chicken. You look weak. His arm is weak.
It's called aging.
From Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Trivia, guys. Who has the record for most fumbles? You mean before today?
15 pieces of chicken or a supersized bucket of hot wings, just $9.99 each.
Wait till the second half.
Yeah,
all right,
rally.
Anytime you're ready, gentlemen.
Super buckets from KFC.
Today, the latest from the world of business.
Now the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Current economic, monetary, and political disruption.
Saddam Hussein simply does not.
And now the Iraqis are challenging the enemy.
The State Department denounced.
WIWR.
The city of Miami is narrowing.
Browns will have a new coach now.
Long ball, man is open.
WIWR means business, sports. Wire. Why not wire yourself into Youngstown's best? Wire. AM 1330.
Of course, all of tonight's announcements out of Washington came at just about the time some sporting events would have been getting started.
All sporting events were played in the pro ranks. They did say from here on in, though, they will check with the State Department to see if indeed they do play tomorrow and throughout the weekend. But the Cavs tonight at the Coliseum looking to snap an 11-game losing streak, hosting the Miami Heat. Let's go to some highlights of this one real quickly. It was all Cavs in this one. You'll see Chucky Brown get the rebound. He'll go up, put it in. Cleveland led 42-28 at this point. They kept it coming in the second half. Brad Daugherty leading the way tonight, 22 points. The Cavs snapped their 11-game skid, 108-94 over the Heat. Meanwhile, another streak was snapped, a winning streak by the Celtics at home. It was 18 straight, but Tim Hardaway would not let it happen tonight. He had 37 for Golden State. The Warriors win that one over Boston, 110-105. Let's go to the NBA scores. Like I said, the Cavs finally win one over Miami, 108-94. Golden State by 5 over Boston. Minnesota top the Knicks. The Knicks struggling, lose at home 93-89. Chicago a winner again. Their streak stays alive, beating Orlando 99-88. Indiana losing to Milwaukee in the third. Now a final, San Antonio beat Dallas 110-104. Charlotte winning at halftime against Denver. And the Clippers in Washington starting a late one out west. And we'll be back with tonight's college action right after this.
Prices seem to be going up on almost everything you buy, except at the Garment Center. But now, during our very famous 2 for sale, you'll save more than ever on over 7,000 famous brand suits and sport coats. It's the original and best 2 for sale on better men's clothing. You'll get 2 suits or 2 sport coats for less than you pay for 1 in any fine men's store. Can't use 2? Bring a friend, but don't miss the biggest men's clothing sale of the year. Only at the Garment Center, Market Street in Boardman, Eastwood Mall in Niles, and Sharon City Center next to Ryer Shoes.
Sparkle's been the people's choice in supermarkets for over 30 years because the owner is in the store.
Look for Bounty paper towels in microwave white or designer styles for just 39 cents. Whole Sun frozen orange juice is just 59 cents for the 12-ounce can. And USDA Choice boneless block rump roast is only $1.99 a pound.
And you can always get Sparkle's famous 4 ways to save, including bonus buy coupons. But the best reason to shop at Sparkle is our people. Our people make us sparkle.
Well, the pro ranks might have played tonight, but tonight in North Carolina was supposed to be the 5th-ranked Tar Heels and NC State in their big rivalry. This game was postponed because of what was happening in the golf. One of the players, a senior, Pete Chilcutt, has a brother over there, and the Chancellor of North Carolina said the game should not be played on this evening. Let's go to the scoreboard. Like I said, NC State, North Carolina postponed. That will be made up later in the year. Connecticut almost had this one over Syracuse. They lose it in overtime, 81-79. Kentucky keeps on rolling. They beat Mississippi 95-85. Duke Citadel, we could not get a score on that game. I'm not sure if it was played or not. 76-62. Virginia beat Maryland. Virginia Tech loses to South Carolina tonight, 83-67. In the NHL, Detroit was a loser against Buffalo, 5-3. Chicago and New Jersey skate to an overtime 2-2 final. And Hartford beats the LA Kings 4-3. And Glenn, you know the Australian Open is going on. They will presumably keep that going too. They said there were all kinds of monitors with American television on over there for the players to be up to date.
And I'm sure the world of sports will have a better idea what's going on tomorrow too.
And throughout the weekend.
Okay. Thank you much, Chuck.
Okay.
And that is our report for now. The forecast for tomorrow calls for brisk and cold with flurries and the high around 35. Stay tuned next as we rejoin the network for continuing live coverage of developments in the war in the Persian Gulf this evening from NBC News and Tom Brokaw. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
From NBC News, America at War continues. Here is Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It is now 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a war conducted by the United States against the regime of Saddam Hussein and the country of Iraq has been going on officially for 4.5 hours.